Play a few rounds in a historic course, treat yourself to a decadent spa visit, or visit some of the best 19th holes around. Book today to see how Northern Ireland is made for golf, and a whole lot more at discovernorthernireland.com/golf.
The wait is over as the Lions return to South Africa, live on Sky Sports.
Oh, the Lions going to party again!
Watch every tour match live.
It's gone through!
Every tackle, every try, every kick.
It's going to be tight!
Half price for 6 months.
That is incredible!
Don't miss it.
History made!
To join or upgrade and get Sky Sports half price for 6 months, search Get Sky Sports. New sports customers only. Standard pricing applies after 6 months. Further terms apply.
If you're all at sea for mealtime ideas, we've landed the answer. Fresh Irish haddock. A delicious, nutritious white fish, and it's so versatile. Like grilled haddock with a salad of baby gem, eggs and crispy bacon. Or spiced haddock with lemon couscous. The perfect summer dish. For more delicious meal ideas, visit boardbia.ie. And next time you're in the supermarket or fishmongers, look out for fresh Irish haddock brought to you by your local fishermen. Fresh ideas, great meals from Board Bia.
Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. We're showcasing every single Lions game. Commentaries of all matches on News Talk and Off the Ball, including all 3 tests in South Africa. We had commentary today of the match between the Lions and the Sigma Lions. 56-14, the British and Irish Lions winning in Johannesburg. Great to be talking about all this sport today. A year ago it was the Bundesliga, and it's great to be back here in this situation. The former Ireland and Leinster back Fergus McFadden and the ex-Lion hooker Shane Byrne join us to look back on the match at the 2021 British and Irish Lions Tour on OTB Sports, brought to you by Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions. Lads, how we doing? Fergus, Josh Adams, it was funny because every time I watched him on the screen after he scored a try, he looked like he was absolutely goosed. Maybe it was the altitude, but it was a nice performance.
Yeah, it's funny. Josh Adams, he always seems to be like that, even when he's playing for Wales. After he does something, he's all action, in fairness, and he's a great player. And you know, after the last 2 weeks, he's put his hand up for a starting spot. 4 tries today, and he was still, adding lots, even in the last 10 minutes. So a big performance by him and a few other backs.
We were talking, Fergus, about Lewis Rees-Zammit before the match. Lovely chip by Chris Harris to set him up for the opening try.
Yeah, a nice start for the Lions there. They had some nice interplay where I think Owen Farrell got it off Jamie George, and Chris Harris popped it over the fullback, and Rees-Zammit had a nice start to the game. But really, Rees-Zammit was probably quiet otherwise, and the standout performances were probably Hamish Watson, who was brilliant. He got through a mountain of work, along with Stuart Hogg. I thought had a very strong game from the back there. I think he made a few nice breaks, and some of the front 5 as well. Kyle Sinclair, Maro Itoje, and Jamie George, actually. I thought his line-out throwing was unbelievable. I'm sure Shane will expand on that, but I think 13 out of 14 line-outs and some nice variety to them.
Maybe there's some communication on the calls then, Shane.
Yeah, no, it was good. They're obviously showing with Farrell and the centres that they're presenting themselves as an option over the back, over the tail line-out, which is smart. If their defence is back, it's an easy ball. It clears all the defence. And as long as the hooker is accurate, it can be a great ball because you're immediately over the gain line and back into heavy, defensive issues for them because they have to wrap around their forwards or ahead of where the ruck is. And it's a good ball to play and something that they're obviously looking at constantly as an effort. So that will make defences watch that and be aware of that, which hopefully will create spaces. But I agree with a lot of what Fergus said there. I think everyone he named are the people hands out. This wasn't a stellar game by any stretch of the imagination. It was a box ticker. You take the positives out of it. It was exactly what you wanted. They're on home ground now. The tour is fully up and running now. I thought Stuart Hogg, he did very well. Ran back, fielded. There was a great bit where he fought to stay out of touch as well in the first half. Little things like that make a big difference. Chris Harris, I thought, got into the game as it went on. Not super start. Josh Adams, a guy I honestly was surprised. I thought he was lucky to get on the tour. And but now his name has to be mentioned. 4 tries last week. His name has to, and he's working hard. He's doing the things he needs to do off the ball as well. So his names are starting to get mentioned. But I think Hamish Watson, I think they got the man of the match, just like the Irish one at the 7 getting as well. I think perfect man of the match. How this guy does it, he's a pocket rocket. Like, he takes on people when he's running, twice the size of him, and he's rolling out of tackles. His strength and power is absolutely tremendous. And to me, like, that 7 jersey is his at the moment. I know we're very early into it, but even before the tour, the way he'd been playing has been fantastic.
The second try came, Fergus, after some nice work by Finn Russell. How did Finn Russell perform overall in your view?
I think it was a Finn Russell performance. I think that's what we're probably used to getting from him. I think he did some outstanding things. A lovely kick for Josh Adams for that try in the second half. And he did try that a number of times, probably too many times, those little, short crossfield kicks. But there was one stage where Stuart Hogg had ran back 80 metres to catch one of the back rows from the Sigma Lions after he intercepted the ball. And in that situation, you think if one of your teammates is going to go to that much effort to stop a try, he then, almost throws an intercept underneath his post. And I think that kind of sums him up as a player. And for me, it's probably a reason why I was shocked that he was picked instead of Johnny Sexton, because, he does bring something different to Dan Bigger. But really, you want players that aren't going to do those crazy things in really tight test matches, and that's just my opinion.
I'm hearing risk here from our Fergus is saying, Shane, is he too much of a risk for the test series?
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's that, can they shape him into stop doing those crazy things? Because the South Africans will be coached, the test side will be coached well enough to know that, when he's on the park, he could do anything. So put him under serious pressure and he will try to do something. And it might come off, might be amazing, but the risk is there. It's a pity that the last thing almost he did before he went off was the kick out in the full. I thought he'd been playing reasonably well, even just normal work outside of the chip kicks. They obviously part of the plan, which is good to see that they were planning what they were doing. The wraparound was obviously huge to create the space out wide, and they were doing that a lot. And but yeah, look, this is all the thing with him. The mercurial problems with him is that, if you want to take the positives, you have to take the negatives with this guy. And can you do that in the Lions Test series?
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
It's a fascinating debate. It's not the end of it as well over the next few weeks, lads. Owen Farrell took on the kicking duties and he was very good with them. The overall performance, though, for Fergus from him?
I think he looked more comfortable when he moved into 10. I do think that's his best position. I think I said it to Neil when the game, we were commenting on the game. But again, do I think he's done enough from that performance to break into the 23? I think at the moment it should be Bundy Aki and Robbie Henshaw. But this game on Wednesday will tell a lot. But I thought that the combination of Aki and Henshaw was a really, really nice one last week.
Should we be hoping for this game on Wednesday? I know Robbie won't be involved. He's got a bit of a knock, but it's not a serious one. That the other Irish lads start to come in again, Shane, because obviously Gatlin's trying to get everybody involved. But if you're an Irish player, do you want to be playing a reasonable amount of these warm-up games?
Oh, you do. You absolutely. Listen, there's a catch-22 on this, is that if the last game you've played well, that's what's in everybody's mind. So you don't want to have another game where you do something wrong and then that's eclipsing everything else. But look, players don't think like that. Players just want to play, and it'll be good to get the guys back. Like, there was nothing I saw today that would put, any of the guys who might be pushing under threat. There was no one from today's that you go, yeah, look, he's an absolutely nailed in for that. Like, at the moment, we ironically have there's three Irish who you would presume the jersey is theirs to lose. Henshaw, obviously, Furlong and Murray. So, like, it's theirs unless something goes wrong or their form dips. And it's, just England probably have a toe-jay. But after that, everything in the squad is up for grabs. And there was nothing today that went, there you go. Maybe Hamish Watson. I would just love to see him start the test series. And Josh Adams, purely because of his stats so far. But no one else, to me, I think Fergus got it right. Like with Owen Farrell, there was nothing there to go, yeah, no, he's ready.
We were talking about subs and impact players, the importance of that in the Test series before the game actually started. Gareth Davies came on, scored a try. Fergus, did you notice him or anybody else off the bench that made you feel a positive thought about?
Yeah, I thought the energy those guys that came off the bench brought was really good. They were pretty accurate with the involvements they had as well. I think Cowan Dickey's throwing was good. I think he was good around the park, looked pretty explosive. And yeah, Gareth Davies is a great option at 9. I think Conor Murray will start, but it'll come down to who's going to pick up the substitute position for scrum half between Ali Price and Gareth Davies. And he came on and did himself no harm there, scored a nice try with that line. He likes running up the middle of the field. And Sam Simmons had a very good game as well for the whatever 20 minutes he had, 25 minutes. So another option at number 8 for them.
The set piece, was it solid for you, Shane?
Yeah, it was. It did exactly the job you wanted to do. I thought they could have mauled more just to see how it would work out. Maybe they're going to launch that against one of the particular sides. Just on this, like I think it's Cowan Dickey and Ken Owens who were playing for the number 2 position. I don't think Jamie George is in for the Test side. I think Cowan Dickey, when he came on, did very well. I thought he was very explosive on the ball. And again, as you say, accurate, which is, if you're bringing something else on, like Jamie George obviously was very, very accurate, but if Cowan Dickey's bringing that extra little bit of something onto it, I thought Ian Henderson was steady as well. Sam Simmons, he is the perfect impact player. If after 60, 65 minutes of Test rugby and this, pocket rocket comes off the bench, he would be ideal for that.
There was a bit of a dip in maybe the second quarter of the game from the Alliance. I suppose, Fergus, you just have to expect that. There's a bit of a no-win situation here. They're trying to gel. They're in South Africa. It's altitude. It's the first game. It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah, but I did think the second half was a lot better than the first half. I thought they grew into the game. I think they kind of started the game very well and looked like they were going to blow the Sigma Lions off the park. But you could see the altitude then definitely started to affect a number of the players in the pack. They started making a few uncharacteristic mistakes, and then once they got into half time, it was probably welcome for them to get in there and get a talking to from Warren Gatland and the coaches, because they came out firing, in fairness, and put on a good show in the second half. I think they scored a number of nice tries, and I think we're looking at some stuff here that I'm sure that the listeners can't see it, but just nice interplay between a few of the forwards, the tight five that were trying to get in behind the defenders and get the ball away. So that keeping the ball alive element of the British and Irish Lions will definitely be very important growing into the tour.
Have you played at altitude, Fergus?
I have, yeah.
What's it like?
Oh, it's a big adjustment, and it probably even training at it, you notice straight away, after the warm up where you'd normally barely be breaking a sweat, you're out of breath. So that would have had a big effect today, and really those South African players had a huge advantage there. So the coming weeks, I think Neil Tracy had mentioned on the commentary that there'll be a number of games at altitude, and I think all the British and Irish players getting over there, getting exposed to it, will need to acclimatise.
Does it take a while to do that? Do you get used to it?
You would get used to it, yeah. Like, I'd imagine that the couple of guys that played today, the next day they're playing at altitude, they'll find it a little bit easier. But yeah, even the training sessions in it, it takes your body probably a number of weeks to adjust. And
Shane, for you, did you have that in your career?
Yeah, I played quite a few times, and it's exactly like what Fergus said, is that it's your body starts going into that, not stress mode, but like that it has to work a lot harder, a lot quicker. And no matter how fit you are at some stage in rugby, even down at sea level, at some stage you get fatigued enough that you have to just start gritting your teeth and just getting on with it. And everyone's able to do that. Everyone who plays at that level is well able to do that. But at altitude, it just happens sooner. And you just have to keep going, and that's the issue. And then the longer you're there for, it gets easier, that it just goes back to normality. But in the first few times where you're training, when you're doing your bits and pieces or in a game, it's just that bit where you've got to actually push that little bit harder. Starts a lot quicker than it normally does.
It's nice that we're talking about play rather than injuries, isn't it, Fergus, after what happened last week? You never know what's going to happen, and last week was just a bit of an explosion. But it's nice that we're actually talking about combinations and who's going to feature and trying to work it out now.
Very much so, yeah, because the amount of work that goes in, some guys, only get the opportunity to be playing, good enough rugby for a window in their career to get picked and get the honour of getting picked for this, which is the ultimate honour really for anyone in the Northern Hemisphere. So for Alan Wynne and Justin Tipuric to miss out, it was bitterly disappointing, but at least those guys have toured before, and it's presented nice opportunities for Josh Navidi and Adam Beard, who are going over for their first taste of a Lions tour. So thankfully all of the guys got through today unscathed, because it's the last thing you want to see at the start of it.
Are you disappointed not to see James Ryan out there, Fergus?
Yeah, I was massively disappointed for him, and I was also a little bit shocked. He didn't get the call once Alan Wynne got injured, but supposedly there might be other reasons behind that. Who knows? Maybe I think this had in the paper that James was struggling a little bit from an abductor injury, but for me he was a no-brainer to travel over there. Such a leader, and in fairness to him, I think he reacted very well today, and he put in a typical James Ryan performance, full 80 minutes of like probably one of the top stats of tackling and carrying. So if he keeps that up, listen, there will be other injuries on this tour, so hopefully he'll make it over at some stage.
You think that's a possibility, that he could actually end up out there, or other players could end up out there from an Irish perspective?
I'd imagine so, yeah. Like, even some of the not many people have talked about that much is Josh van der Fleer, for instance. If another 7 gets injured, like that performance today, when have you ever seen Josh van der Fleer not play outstanding for Leinster or Ireland? He just never lets you down. So he could be a player that could be talked about, and then there's the obvious one of Johnny Sexton. Like, surely if one of the 10s is going down, he will be the next guy that they'll call upon.
Yeah, I'm fascinated from a player's psychological perspective. Do they kind of have to put it out of their mind completely, or do they maybe think, well, I just have to keep on doing what I'm doing and I might get a chance here?
I'd say it's difficult, because really, you're always going to be going to have that element of hope, and I'm sure there was a standby list, and these guys got emails or calls to be on standby and not to be going maybe away on holiday. So there's a mix of trying to keep themselves fit, number one, but number two, probably not trying to see that many people, so they can't really enjoy their time off, because they're going, well, if I get called over there and I've got I happen to have the Delta variant, or I've been around too many people, so I'd say it's a tough time for them watching all of this, because such a great tour to miss out on.
Yeah, absolutely. Fergus, do you expect by the time the first test comes around, Shane Byrne, that we will see players in there that we wouldn't have expected to be there?
Yeah, Johnny Sexton.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Warren Gatland would be quite happy to bring Sexton out closer to the test, because one of the biggest worries he had was the simple fact that could Johnny last the tour? But he'd be an ideal guy to bring in, the week leading into it or something like that, knowing that somebody like him just reacts to the big games, and if he was called upon or needed, I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. And I think Gatland would be very, very happy to get him out later on in the tour. But there is no doubt about this is going to happen, because as the attrition rate goes on game by game by game, by its very nature, the games get harder. As the players start competing more for the test spots, as things start getting nailed down, that the guys feel like they're getting left out, and by the way the scheduling is, the games get tougher, the opposition get better. So there is going to be an attrition rate, there is going to be drop-offs, there's going to be injuries. It was, quite unusual, particularly the high-profile injuries that we had last week, but this is going to continue, and there will be players who will come out and will just about get out there and will end up having a fantastic tour. It's happened so many times, and it's just as long as you get in there, you slot in. And Van der Fleer would be exactly what, as Fergus said, would be a player like that you would think his standard performance is very, very high. And so if he got out there, you would expect him at a minimum to be hitting a game like that again, which you never know how that would see it, and that's the beauty of the Lions Tour. Somebody can come from absolutely, leading into it nowhere and come home a test superstar.
You don't have his mind, Fergus, but you know him well. Do you think if Johnny did get a call, he'd be just out like a light out to South Africa?
Oh, I'd say he'd tell him he's going to leave it off. I'm joking, obviously. 100%. Jesus, if we're all shocked about Johnny not going, I'm sure you've got everyone in the world saying Johnny Sexton is going on the Lions Tour. It must have been bitterly disappointing for him. So I'm sure he's keeping himself ready. He didn't really finish the season with Leinster because I think he was still carrying a bit of a knock. So I'd imagine he's definitely keeping himself very fit now, and if he gets the call, he'd only be delighted to go over, and I'm sure he'd deliver at the highest level.
Would he almost have to be starting, Shane, to go?
Would he have to be starting?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Like, would he be going to be in the team?
Oh, right. I would say Warren wouldn't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? I suppose you've got to think about it. He's covering, technically, because of the way Farrell can cover 12 as well, he's covering 12 or 10. You know what I mean? So if any of them get injured, there's an opportunity for him to get out there. And yeah, I think of all the players that could go out, I wouldn't be surprised to see him heading out very, very close to it, whenever it will be, or even during it. Remember, it's a 3-week span, 3 weekends, and in the middle of it, and then being involved, sitting on the bench or something like that, because his experience is immense. His ability to play in the big games, we all know it. We've seen it so many times. So I think of the people that could potentially end up in that situation, you would have less worry about him doing it than nearly everyone you could think of.
Oh, brilliant stuff. All right, Shane. All right, Fergus. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's going to be a lot of debate now between now and the test start, but we're really enjoying it. And thanks so much for speaking to us today. And thanks for the commentary, Fergus, and thanks, Shane, on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk.
No problem. Take care.
Thanks. Cheers.
Shane Byrne and Fergus McFadden there. Remember, the 2021 British and Irish Lions Tour on OTB Sports, brought to you by Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions. Remember, we've got commentary of every Lions game here on Off the Ball on News Talk. Next up, the match against the Sharks, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Limerick and Cork are underway, and Cork lead 1-5 to 6 points at Semple Stadium in the first half. Shane Kingston with the goal for the Rebels. They've also had a penalty saved, Cork. Earlier on, Kilkenny beat Wexford after extra time in Leinster in the semi-final, 237 to 229. They will play Dublin, who defeated Galway 118 to 114. Denmark into the semi-finals of the Euros, 2-1 win over the Czechs. England play Ukraine at 8 p.m. We're going to hear from Tommy Walsh and his verdict on the Leinster semi-finals after this.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
On the latest Tech Talk, we'll hear about the reality of broadband in rural Ireland. Sue Murphy will explain the exclusive portal on Disney Plus that will showcase Black Widow, and a restaurateur will explain his tech solution to streamline the stock management process.
Tech Talk.